to this club officer training seminar about virtual meetings. Let me share my screen. There we go. Oop, I gotta go back now. Oh, now it's going forward. Let me try that again.
Turn your mouse around.
Oh, come on. That's a good start.
Yeah, you're getting through them real quick.
Yep.
Making me feel better about how our meeting went.
Left mouse button if nothing else, Ed.
I will get there. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm glad we weren't graded on that, Jeff.
I practiced this earlier and I had no problems. There we go. So we're talking about virtual meetings. And virtual meetings are necessary, as John said right now, because many of our clubs are not meeting in person. I've also heard that some clubs are starting to meet in person. My club here at the Mott being one of them. One of the things that you can do when you start meeting, but not everybody feels comfortable or not everybody is allowed by their employer to go into meetings with other people, you have to take precautions. So we are meeting, but we are wearing masks as long as we're not drinking or eating, and we sit 6 feet apart. The option is that you can also meet in what is called a hybrid meeting, meaning you would have 1 or maybe 2 people in the room with their computers, and you connect through the virtual platform, and they can then be part, the whole group can be part of that, and the people that are sitting at home can see the meeting. We've done that successfully already here at the Mott. The Rotary Learning Center has a very good teaching tool about some of the things that are important when we are doing virtual meetings. And I'm going to try and share that with you. Oh, that's not working either. All right, let me get it. All righty. Okay, so you have to log in to Rotary.org and you go to the Learning Center, and this link actually is in the PowerPoint presentation that will be made available after this seminar. So then you can copy that and get to this exact page. Rotary is telling us that they have had lots of questions about this, so they created this resource that is on their learning center. And on the next page is that it's some good tips. Make sure that your club website and your social media are up to date. Updating your meeting dates and times and indicating that you might be meeting virtually or that you have hybrid meetings. They talk about new member inductions, and we have seen that with our induction of our new governor. There are some people that are unwilling or unable to join virtual meetings. And one of the things is that as a club, you can educate those members if you have somebody that knows how to do that and they feel comfortable talking on the phone, or you go visit them and help them educate on how to do these kinds of things. The other thing is, and Chris will talk about that a little bit more, some people might have Facebook, or they can watch Facebook. So you can share your virtual meeting on a Facebook page. And that's actually what's happening at the moment. This is also streamed on Facebook, and Chris will address that here more in our technical session. One of the questions that people are asking is about security. Zoom, as the platform of choice right now, has made lots of updates on their security. And one of the things that they've instituted is what is called a waiting room. So when you set up the meeting, then you will gather the people in the meeting room and you can check out that they are all legitimate attendees of your meeting, and then you can let them in one by one. We'll talk a little bit more about Zoom here in a minute. Talking about meetings, some people have questioned whether an online meeting is a real meeting. An online meeting is a real meeting, and our clubs can meet in person, online, or a combination of that. And unless you're going to permanently change your meeting time and meeting place, you don't need to update your bylaws during this COVID-19 pandemic. Some clubs have asked, do we need to update our bylaws? Not unless you're making a permanent change. One of the ways in which you can make your meetings engaging is to make sure that everybody knows the rules about muting their microphones when somebody else is talking, unmuting when it's your turn to talk. Also, in an online meeting, you don't necessarily have to have the same kind of an agenda as your regular meeting would have. One of the things that John asked about singing, I could have sang a solo, but singing together does not really work because there's always a delay. So even reciting the Pledge of Allegiance or the four-way test might be a challenge. Then they talk a little bit about raising money. Some people are thinking about raising money via other platforms, but one of the challenges with that is that if you raise money for Rotary on your Facebook page, the members will not get credit for that. So the best thing to do is, when you're talking about raising money, to direct them to rotary.org, and there is a link where you can give, and then you as an individual and as a club will get credit for those gifts. So that's on Rotary Learning Platform. I will go back to the presentation. There are many different platforms. You've heard me talk a lot about Zoom because I believe that is currently the best platform to be on. But other people might be meeting on WebEx or Google Meets. You can even meet on Facebook, Skype. There are different platforms, but I personally have found that the platform of Zoom is recommended. Also, for another reason, Zoom can be used for free if your meetings are under 40 minutes. A professional account would cost you $14.99 per month, but as a Rotarian, you can actually get a discount. And also our district has an account that clubs can use, but of course then that needs to be scheduled, and you would need to contact Chris, our secretary for the district, about a date and a time that you want to use that. Talking about some ideas for virtual meetings. We have email, and you can use Club Runner to create emails that go out to everyone, make them aware that there is going to be a meeting. When you use Zoom, you can send the invitation in an email, and people can simply click on a link, and then it will take you to the meeting. Put it on your Facebook page, tell people what is happening. Talked already a little bit about shortening the meeting from what you would normally do, and that singing, if you are a singing club, which some clubs are, I think Kentland is, that won't work because of the time delay. A very nice feature, I think, of meeting virtually is that we now can go global. And I have been in meetings with clubs where they had people from different countries give a presentation. People from different areas of the United States. Very interesting speakers that you normally in a in-person meeting would not have access to. So now we're going to get quote unquote technical. Zoom has a simple website address. It's zoom.us. And you can go on there and sign up for a Zoom account. And as I said, the Zoom account can be free if you only meet for less than 40 minutes. And otherwise it will be $14.99 a month, and you can get a discount as a Rotarian. There are lots of training options on the Zoom website, and here are two of the addresses that you will have access to once we share this. I can show you some of that. Oh, I guess I can't because it's not on here anymore. Let me go stop that. Okay, we're going to share fresh. Okay, here we are on the Zoom Help Center. And as I said, the address for that will be in the presentation. And they have all kinds of trainings. Sometimes they are live and you can sign up for those, or you can watch videos that they have already prepared on their website. There's also a great page on CNET that talks a lot about some of the more technical things. How you can change your background, how it's a good idea to mute your audio and turn off your camera. And then there are some tricks about doing that, muting and unmuting with your space bar. You have an option on the bottom of your Zoom screen to react with emojis. There are all kinds of shortcuts for keyboard. You can watch everyone at the same time, or you can only watch the speaker that is actively speaking. Right now I'm sharing my screen. That's one of the other options. Some people don't have video, so they would call in with their telephone, and you can hide those participants so that your screen does not get as cluttered with all the little black boxes on there for the people without the video. And then an interesting thing is that if you're worried about how you look, you didn't have time to put on all your makeup, then you have a beauty filter that you can turn on in Zoom, and it makes you look a lot better. I did not do that today, so I'm not sure that I look very good today. And you can record the meeting either on your computer or in the cloud. Recording it on your computer, you can always do, even with a free account. If you want to record the meeting in the cloud to share it later, you have to have a paid account. Okay, now we're getting into, if you were to do a hybrid meeting where you have some people in your meeting room and some other people at home with Zoom, what kind of equipment would you need? So I'm going to turn it over to Chris, who is going to talk about that.
Thanks, Ed. And actually, as was brought up in the chat, there's a lot of different ways to do it depending on your familiarity with hardware or your comfort level. The simplest way to do any of this, as we've talked about in previous training, for any of you who attended any of that, most people at this point have a smartphone. I mean, those that don't are fairly rare. Certainly finding one in a club is not going to be hard. So that's the easiest way to do any of this, is to just have any one of a 1,001 little $10 mounts. You can pick them up at the dollar store, Walmart, wherever, and just aim it and start up the app. You can either start up Zoom if you're going to do the Zoom meetings, or if you're wanting to do something like the Facebook broadcasting, you can open up the Facebook app and go straight to the page broadcast. Everything else turns into an accessory to enhance the experience. As it shows on the slide here, there are clubs that have gone the very simple route as just using a laptop to bring up the Zoom meeting and an external microphone. That's an omnidirectional microphone that would pick up the whole room. For those that are a little less tech savvy, I've been recommending iPads. iPad minis, iPad, the full size, either the normal or Pro. And if you get what's called a video conference speaker, and Plantronics makes a variety of these, they vary between $100 and they go crazy. I mean, you can get them for conference rooms that are $1,000. It really does help because it picks up all the sound instead of having it directly in front of a speaker. The other big option, and this is one, Ed, if you can go ahead and advance me to the next slide, that we've been using at my home club, Rensselaer. We actually use a broadcast system. What's pictured here is what's called a Mevo camera. These are relatively inexpensive, and you don't need a lot of accessories. If you're not looking at doing something Zoom, if you're looking at just doing broadcasting on either YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, they even do LinkedIn now. These are a really great way to step into it without needing somebody that can run a camera system. Any way you do it, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Facebook Live, you do want somebody during the meeting, usually either a sergeant or somebody else designated to it, to keep an eye on responses. Because the big part of doing any kind of a hybrid meeting, of course, is interactivity. So if you've got 5, 10, 500 of you in one place, you still need to keep an eye on things like the chat for the Zoom meeting here, where you've got a variety of people that are, engaging with each other. In fact, if you go through and look, Jim put out a post about engaging with a higher end camera and microphone. Anything that you add from an equipment standpoint should be something that you have multiple people to be able to use, not just one person. I mean, I speak from experience when I say if you're the one person who knows how to run everything and you get sick, the meeting quality goes down really quickly. The other thing, of course, is keeping it going. Once you start something, it's important to try and keep it in the habit. As we can all attest from meetings we've been to, anything that affects the meeting quality or what people expect is going to be something that's remarked upon. My own club's been doing hybrid meetings for the last several years. Now, we don't do it every meeting, but we do regularly broadcast to Facebook Live and have been doing it for, speakers that you wouldn't necessarily expect. We've been able to get some great international speakers, believe it or not, in little Rensselaer, Indiana. And for those of you who don't know where that is, it's a speck on the highway. And Zoom's enabled us to do that over the years. The other thing that really can't be emphasized enough is in the current climate we find ourselves in, not just with COVID, but with retaining members. The interactivity of broadcasting to social media, that way it shows that you're an active and vibrant club, can't be undersold. Ed, if you want to go ahead and advance to the next slide real quick. Zoom will actually let you broadcast straight from a Zoom meeting to social media. At any point, you go down to more, as long as it's enabled on the account, and you can go straight live to Facebook, you can go straight live to YouTube, or any of the other platforms. It does take a little bit of setup, but there's a lot of great tutorials on Zoom itself. And if you have any questions with it, Ed's a great resource. John, my phone number's all over the district site, so it's pretty hard to forget it. And nothing else, one of the 3 billion emails you'll get from me this year, just reply to that with a question, and it'll be easy enough to find me. Ed, you want to go ahead and, did you have any other closing remarks for? Yeah, maybe mute at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to questions from everybody.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. We are going to do questions, and you also see my email address and Chris's email address. So if you have any questions after the broadcast, then you can send them to us that way. But we'll open it up for questions. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and we can see everybody.
Yeah, I've got it unmuted. Everybody should be unmuted now. Do we have any questions or?
So I got a question, if clubs wanted to share the district Zoom account, only one club can share it at a time. Is that correct?
Yeah, we pretty much allocated it on a first come, first served basis. I mean, we are trying to be as unbiased as possible and try and let everybody use it if they want to. We've had fairly few requests for it, so if anybody does need it, feel free to reach out. In general, though, the online meetings tend to be shorter than in-person meetings. An hour-long virtual meeting is quite long, even with a speaker. So generally, the common wisdom is the free accounts will handle most of it. But certainly, if you're doing something that requires something longer, or if you just want to use it for the features, reach out to me and I'll get you on the calendar. So.
Ours have lasted longer than normal.
Oh, they can. I've been in a couple that were significantly longer than that, but in general, a lot of them just don't seem to be as long. Part of that is just, it's easier to socialize in person. Meeting like this on a screen, there's a lot of people that just aren't super comfortable with it. For those of you that have had a lot of contact with, well, he's no longer our immediate past district governor. I guess he's just a past district governor. But Dan Ryan from 2 years ago was not what you would call a great fan of technology at times, and even he's adapted to it. So I can say from personal experience, a lot of it is just familiarity. And this is an easy enough platform to use. I mean, you don't have to sign up for an account to join a meeting. You can just click on the link. You do have to have the relevant app or program downloaded to your computer, but in general, I mean, I've had people join from a smartphone as they've still been in their vehicle. I won't say what they were doing because it didn't feel safe to me, but, and not that I haven't done that myself a couple times, but I mean, it generally is it is pretty even-handed as far as accessibility. And these other things are just value added. I did get a question about bylaws and meeting times. In general, the bylaws don't usually specifically address where you meet, just how you meet, whether that's the frequency or sometimes that does address time. But in general, I mean, that's the kind of thing where, especially if you look at the e-directory, if you go to the district website, we just made a change to it today, in fact, that uses our Facebook social media platform, which is ably captained by Ann Gregory, who's here on the call with us tonight. That way we can leverage the fact that it's posted to quite frequently because the RI channels that we've been using for a lot of the information that was displayed on the district page aren't updated nearly as frequently. But she's great, and the different team we've got are great about posting things. Sometimes they're a little embarrassing, like that when they posted John's birthday the other day, but in general, it's all in good fun. So,
I think John wants to say something about the bylaws.
go, John.
Yeah, Jim Welborn had a question from Michigan City, I think, and the bylaws themselves state that you have to have a section in about the time and place of the meeting, but there are options. It does say that section needs to be in your bylaws, but it also gives options for board members with notice to change the meeting place, etc. The key other thing, so I've sent that. I mean, I've put it so many places during training that if you need a copy of the sample bylaws, I can send them out.
Bluetooth mode.
What's that?
Bluetooth connected.
Okay, and then I think the other person on here that is an expert would be Lee Morris, because I think their club included a bylaw regarding virtual meetings. Is that true,
Yes.
Lee?
That is true.
Our clubs typically, well, most clubs typically hold their annual meeting the first week in December. And so ours has been on discussion at the board meeting. I heard Wednesday morning this week, but there'll be one in our club, and I think there should be a reference in every club. But don't make it ironclad, and make an option that you can change it without changing your bylaws.
Yes.
All right, thank you for that, John. I have a question. Which clubs are meeting only on virtual platforms, by a show of hands? Well, that looks like the majority.
We had our first live meeting on Monday.
Oh, and do you have?
We did too.
We had 26 people attended and 26 people were on Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, hybrid. Yep.
And did
We
you
had
have
our first
advanced
meeting
chapter
in person on Monday, and the board on Wednesday considered the possibility of providing either periodic Zoom meetings or hybrid meetings, and decided against it because they really want to encourage people to attend in person. We are using masking and social distancing, but attendance was the best we've had in months.
Interesting.
Well, and it's all down to your club culture as well. Our meetings, we don't even have a place that's open right now that we could hold them for Rensselaers. So until that changes, we don't even have the option.
So is anybody using any other platform than Zoom right now? Show of hands. Okay, Scott, what are you using?
We've got a member of our group that's a tech expert, and it is some platform I'm not even familiar with. I wish we were using Zoom.
Yeah.
We do have a couple clubs that are using alternatives, Crowdcast and I can't think of what the other one is.
Life size.
That's it. Yeah, and I mean there are alternatives to Zoom out there. It's just right now Zoom is so ubiquitous that it's difficult to argue against it.
Chris, tell us about buying the program a little bit more and the discount from Rotary.
Well, and there's two different levels of discount. About a year and a half ago, that's a story I want to get into. Zoom actually offers an RI discount for just being a Rotarian. Now, if your club does have an associated foundation, if there is a 501c3 in conjunction with your club's 501c4, you can actually qualify through TechSoup for a 50% discount. If you go to Rotary.org and log into the Member Center, there's a whole section on discounts for a variety of vendors, Zoom included. And I believe that discount's 20%. Let me double check.
I believe that's correct.
And it's not quite as much as the nonprofit discount, which is an even 50%. But you do have to be an associate. You have to be a 501c 3 to qualify for that discount instead of a 501c4, which is most of our clubs.
All right. Are there any other questions? General questions, technical questions?
I'm wondering if anyone else has experienced very much member runoff. We've had a number of members that just don't feel comfortable with Zoom, and they don't feel comfortable coming back to meetings. So we've had a number of resignations.
Well, let me take that one first. My humor part of this is all the Zoom meetings that I've attended, and I'll come to any one you invite me to. But if your club meeting was boring in person and you try to do the same thing online, it's still boring. But there are a lot of clubs, and I think you said that one last more than an hour. That was probably a lot of chit chat and camaraderie among your members, and maybe some people making fun of the district governor or somebody. So that's a good thing. But I think there are members in our clubs. How do I say this? This is an excuse or a reason for them to leave. And so we can either be positive and say, okay, then we're going to go. You can ask them why they left. That's definitely do an exit survey. And then when you find out that information, maybe there's something in the club that needs to change or could change, but also look for ways to invite people that could never come before. There are so many people in our communities that could meet 1 day a month, 2 days a month, meet virtually, can come work on your projects, include your Interact students in your meetings, Rotaract students or Rotaract members, not just students now. But there are a lot of options that can be inclusive. And you might just be amazed at who you attract.
And actually, I'll add something to that real quick. At the end of last fall, November, December, we were actually looking at adding a satellite club to Rensselaer because we had people that couldn't attend a lunch meeting, but still wanted to be members of the club. Since we've been doing these virtually, I've talked to 2 or 3 of them, and we may be doing an induction here in the next couple of weeks. So doing the virtual meetings is actually maybe increasing our membership instead of losing them.
Well, it's another channel. You're not eliminating anything. I mean, if we do get back to live meetings, we'll be able to do both. But I would definitely, if you are doing live meetings, do them on the hybrid basis and record them. And then you get that those members who couldn't watch it live or be on it live, but if they see it 2 or 3 days later, that's just as good as being there when it was live.
When we kicked off our first meeting Monday, I made it clear that our dual objectives this year were retention and attraction of new members, because we needed to shore up the back door that we had members leaving, and we needed to replace those members and grow. So we're really trying to start out of the chute strong and do some new things. One of the things that I instituted when I saw the 3 doors, Rotary opens opportunities. The first thing I thought of was, let's make a deal. What's behind door number 1, 2, or 3? So if I could share my screen, and I'll see if I can do this correctly. I built this cabinet. Can you see it?
No?
Oh, shoot. I don't know how to share this. Oh, hold on. There you go. Now can you see it?
You're coming. There you go.
Yes.
Yep.
So this is my Rotary Opens Opportunities cabinet. I call it the presidential cabinet. And every meeting I call on a member at the end of the meeting, so they have to stay for the whole meeting. And it's someone that I want to recognize that's done something for the club. And there's something behind every door. So behind one, this first meeting, behind one was a little Matchbox car. If they picked that one, then I could say, a new car. Behind another one was a rock. So you had the Charlie Brown, I got a rock. And behind the third one was a gift card to, in this case, Dairy Queen, which is what the person actually got. So they felt like they won. But I call it the presidential cabinet. I have a member now that's giving me a bottle of wine that I'll put in there. So just something to change up, be something different, using the 3 doors emblem as a way to create interest and have fun.
That's good.
I have a set of,
Good idea.
I made a set of doors, a small dollhouse size set of doors. Feeling really good, and I went to Pets, and if you were at Pets, you may have seen them, and I even got Holder to autograph them. And I was like a kid in the sandbox. I'm telling you, I was happy. And so we were passing those out on, what day was that? Friday, when getting ready to put them in the auction for folio. Well, I still have those doors, so you're going to see them sometime later this year. And by the way, what door number 1?
Door number 1 this week was the Matchbox car. The winning door was number 2.
Was that the advice I gave you? You always pick door number 2?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments about virtual meetings?
I do have a question. It's Bruce Woodward from Warsaw. We're rebuilding a club that has kind of gotten soft over the last few years, bringing it back to a vibrant club. Natalie brought up that Google Meetings is free through September. She highly recommends it. My technology chair, which position we created because of the COVID, is looking to take things to the Google Meetings. I have found Zoom to be very, very easy to work with, not being a highly technological person. That was easy to work with. Is Google Meetings that easy, or is it because it's free that people are running with it?
I'm happy to weigh in on that. Google Meet, I mean, in my professional life, I'm a nonprofit executive director, so I'm always looking for the freebies and what's available to us. And our entire staff moved towards Google Meet because of the free. We have switched back and forth using other people's Zoom accounts. Zoom tends to be faster. It seems to be better quality video, but I will say that Google Meet should just serve the purpose. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. It is something to get the job done if you're not ready to, make some kind of expense. And I have trained people on Google Meet, so if there's anything that I can offer, happy to do a little tutorial.
And to second what Natalie said, that's been my experience with it. It is a little newer than Zoom. It's a little less polished. It will definitely get the job done. But depending on your particular circumstances, you can have a few different glitches. Nothing that's not easily overcomable, but it's like anything else. Until you're used to a platform, it can be a little daunting. And Google Meets, to me, all the Google products are integrated together. So I mean, there's some pluses to using Google Meet that you wouldn't see with Zoom. But conversely, she's right. There is some difference in the actual quality of the streaming too. I've had that where Zoom is as recently, when they've had this giant surge because of COVID, they've decreased the video quality a little bit in a meeting. So they're, by my estimation, at least very close. So.
Thank you.
Here's a membership idea. This COVID-19, I think we can all agree that the shutdown really kicked in right around mid-March, I think maybe around the 16th. If you would go back to all of your membership records and all the people that say who resigned prior to March the 16th, go back a year, go back 2 years. If you still have their data, their email addresses, I would send them invites, Zoom invites to attend your meetings on Zoom. And so just to see what kind of response you get, because now you have a technology and a choice you can to offer, where before the only choice they had was to attend live meetings. You just might be surprised how many people you might pull back in.
And to address Jim's question in chat, one of the things that I've been recommending for quite a while is if you've got a good speaker, and really with the virtual meetings, that's one of the big leverages. Canva has been one of those tools that we've recommended for a long time. It's free to use. There are a lot of Rotary templates out there for Canva. Send out just a quick email with an image attached with some information about the upcoming speakers. That'll do as much to drive somebody to a meeting as anything else. And if you've got good speakers, especially virtually, it really does help. I mean, at this point, we're not counting on the food to pull them into a meeting. So if you're not having an engaging meeting, that's a whole other set of problems. And don't forget, I mean, we do have a lot of speakers in the district that would love to attend a virtual meeting and talk. I mean, we've got a lot of experts in this district that you wouldn't necessarily suppose, and there are a lot of them virtually that you can get through Rotary, talking about shelter box, heart to heart. There's a lot of things out there that now is a great time to educate members. I mean, get them engaged. Rotary is really a passion project for volunteers. We've all volunteered our time, and it's one of those things, if you can't find the right hook, you're not going to keep them. Like Jeff was just talking about, I'm sorry.
We put it in our newsletter, we put it on our website, we send out text messages, we through a text messaging system, okay? The day before and the week before about what's coming up the following week. Today we had an absolutely fantastic dynamic speaker, the police department, or the new police chief in Michigan City, talked about, and interesting, when they had the protests there and how they handled them, and yet I still can't get people to come. And I'm struggling with why, because everything we've done seems to be right, but they're still not showing up.
It sounds like you've done everything but smoke signals. I hate to say this, and it's one of those things where it can be really annoying, but all you can do is keep trying and send out a survey. Ask people how they want to receive the information. I've done that before with all kinds of different things. We ask questions. Our club's gone through that meeting virtually now full-time rather than the hybrid meetings we were doing. It's been a challenge. And I can't stress enough for anybody that didn't hear me talk about it at Kalamazoo, make sure and do a club audit of your members, sure that the contact information you have is accurate. I've found that, I can't tell you how many times, when I send out a message to the entire district membership, I spend a lot of time going through the bounce back emails and trying to find the right addresses and updating the information so it's correct.
I have comments on this. I'm walking into a presidency with no experience. We have the last few years, we've had presidents who took on the whole project of the presidency and the board of directors by themselves. So I am walking into a lot of data that is out of date. I mean, we have telephone numbers and email addresses that are over 15 years old. And so that's why I've been working through it. But what we're trying to do is bring in the younger people, which is what we need for the future of Rotary, is bringing in the younger people. I mean, majority of our club are retired people. So what we're doing is we're going back to the roots of Rotary. It is a business club. We're bringing in business leaders to talk about their businesses, the impact on the economics of the community, and how many people they employ, just what their impact is, so that we can bring in the younger people to learn about the businesses of the communities. Because right now, the 30s and early 40s, they're still bouncing around. They're trying to find where they're going to spend their careers at. So we're using the Zoom meetings. We've been doing hybrid meetings since mid-May. John's been to a lot of our meetings. We appreciate that. We're still developing our programs to get us through the next year to rebuild the club. But you know, Zoom has been a good platform for us. Yeah, I guess I'm highly recommending that for the other clubs because it was just easy to work with. I know I'm bouncing all over the board. That's how I am. But yeah, we need to build the future of Rotary, and going back to the basics of it being a business organization is something I think we all need to work with.
I guess I've gotta rely on my assistant governor to help me out, right, Lee?
Okay, Jim?
Well, and this will be a topic for future COTS, but one thing that a lot of clubs have had a hard time doing is self-promotion. And there are a lot of ways to do that, both with signage, with posts on social media, and paid posts. I mean, it doesn't hurt to advertise the club. I mean, that's one of those things that's a little harder to budget, but I've seen some clubs do that very effectively to try and garner membership or just garner donations for a project. It's one of those things where it takes money to make money. But I mean, that there's others here that are at least as qualified, if not even more qualified than I am to talk about that. And that gets into the weeds in search engine optimization. And once you start talking about SEO, that's a whole other.
Good night, Chris.
Thank
you. What is SEO?
Search engine optimization. It's
Okay.
how people will find you on Google and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Well,
I'm getting in the weeds, as John said.
Yeah. Well, Warsaw is a very vibrant community. We have the biomedical industry here. I mean, I can go on and on about what a great place it is to live. And we have a lot of, we have a good basis here. We just need to get away from the retirees and to bring in the young people. And that's my whole goal for the year. So.
All right,
One
Chris.
thing that we've done that has proved to be really helpful in promoting our club in LaPorte is we tried to recruit members from the LaPorte Herald Argus, our local newspaper, without success. They just don't see the community engagement. But guess what? We started inviting the key reporter to each of our meetings. We buy his lunch, and we end up on the front page of the Herald Argus almost every week with a massive story about the program that's been presented and the work that Rotary is doing. So we think that's a pretty good investment of a free lunch to have that reporter with us, and we get really great publicity from it.
Chris, I have just a couple things that have come to mind during this discussion. And I think one of them is, I think there's still only two types of Rotary membership. One is active and one is honorary. But boy, there are all kinds of clubs and club options. And when you think about your due structure, you think about your club, a lot of clubs, and I'll mention Lowell, for example, they meet in a La Hacienda restaurant. You go in, if you want a drink, you order one. If you want a burrito, you order one. If you want a glass of water, that's free. It's options for younger members that don't have the money or don't want to buy a meal. If you're meeting online, you don't have to worry about that. So you may want to look at due structures that encourage people who can't attend a weekly noon or breakfast meeting, but might be able to help you with projects, because in the end, that's kind of what we're about, I think.
We also just instituted a reduced due structure for members over 65 that are no longer working, or members over 75, regardless of their working, as well as members under 30, in order to try to retain our most experienced members from leaving, who also are the ones most at risk for COVID, as well as trying to attract very young members.
Well, I'd say that that's a step in the right direction. So I'll give you a thumbs up here on the screen. How's that? Yeah, you don't know who, we have people that maybe we had a lot of people I think I've seen that were in Florida when this started, and they attended their Rotary Club meeting from 1,000 miles away, which they never would have done or could have done. They were excited. So, I'm Mr. Positive, and I think there are opportunities here if we just forget the way Rotary has always been, respect the tradition, but then grow a new face that we're going to put on Rotary. How's that for a sermon?
Amen, brother. Amen.
Pass the offering plate.
Yep.
Well, thank you all for joining us tonight, and I think we'll end a few minutes early. John likes to do that on a meeting. Schedule it for one time and then short it a little bit, and I'm okay with that. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. John, you have any last words?
Do I have any last words?
Yeah.
Pass the collection. No. I'm just excited to see the number of people and the great discussion. Because I'm on too many webinars that have panelists and you just sit there and listen. And I'm not a good one. I go to church, but I'm not a good sit still listener. I want to be interactive. I want to talk and discuss. So you guys were fantastic. Keep up the good work. And if there's any way the district can help, like email, call, we try to answer those as quick as we can. So stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.